Accordingly, effective immediately, I am banning.
No warning, no slow build-up, just a nuclear press conference that rocked the sports world in seconds. The face of women's basketball, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a global icon, a walking headline, gone, wiped off the league like she was never there. And fans were left asking the same thing. What the hell did she do? Did she rig games? Threaten officials? Or is this something deeper? Something the league never wanted you to find out? Because the more you dig into this story, the darker it gets. There are rumors, leaked recordings, accusations of corruption, even whispers about Griner's identity that the WNBA allegedly covered up for years. So buckle up, because this isn't just about a basketball player getting banned. This is about power, control, and a scandal that could tear the league apart. It all started with a press conference nobody saw coming. No teasers, no leaks, just Adam Silver, stepping up to the podium with a look that said everything was about to change. Effective immediately, I am banning. That was it. No elaboration, no questions. Just one sentence that detonated across sports media like a bomb. You could almost hear the silence hit. Reporters frozen, cameras shaking, Twitter exploding. Because this wasn't just a disciplinary move, this was a complete erasure of the league's biggest name. For years, Griner wasn't just in the WNBA, she was the WNBA. She brought the flash, the dunks, the dominance. You'd see her face in Nike ads, coaching camps, walking red carpets, and representing Team USA on the world stage. She had pull, she sold tickets, she broke barriers, and now, vanished. No goodbye, no farewell tour, just gone. But Adam Silver wasn't backing down. He stood firm, repeating one phrase that raised more questions than it answered. There is no place in basketball for actions that compromise the integrity of the game. What actions? What did they find? What could possibly be so bad that it led to a lifetime ban? That's where things start unraveling. Because this wasn't about one mistake. It was a pile of red flags that the league ignored for years, until it was too late. And once the first piece fell, everything else came crashing down. Before the scandal, before the leaks, before the lifetime ban, there was Brittney Griner, the unstoppable force. Griner was the first name people thought of when they heard WNBA. She towered over the competition, literally and figuratively. The first woman to consistently dunk in college, a #1 draft pick, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, all-star after all-star, dominant on both ends of the court. And the league knew exactly what they had. She became the face of women's basketball, featured in global campaigns, sneaker deals, interviews, late-night TV. She wasn't just a player, she was a brand. Nike, ESPN, Team USA. Everyone wanted a piece of Brittney Griner. Her presence brought in fans. Her name sold out arenas. And her story, the trailblazing, barrier-breaking, fearless image, became a symbol the league leaned on hard. But here's the part they don't like to talk about. While the cameras captured the poster dunks and gold medals, behind the scenes, something was off. Because even at the height of her fame, the whispers had already started. Teammates clashed with her, coaches grew frustrated, officials raised eyebrows, but none of it made headlines. Why? Because you don't silence your biggest star. You protect her, at least until the weight of it all becomes too heavy to hide. And that's exactly what was about to happen. For a while, it all stayed under the surface. Griner kept putting up numbers. The league kept promoting her. And the fans? They had no idea. But inside locker rooms and front offices, people were starting to talk. Stories leaked out in bits and pieces. Nothing confirmed, nothing public. Just quiet tension. Griner skipping team meetings, blowing off league protocols, getting into heated arguments with refs that went way beyond normal trash talk. Some teammates said she was impossible to manage. Others said she acted like the rules didn't apply to her. And the WNBA? They did nothing. Because every time she stepped on the court, the spotlight followed. The league couldn't afford to lose its headliner. Not when ratings were climbing and arenas were filling. So they looked the other way, until they couldn't anymore. Because the red flags didn't stop. They multiplied, and behind closed doors, officials were starting to connect the dots. Patterns in games, questionable calls, suspicious behavior. And suddenly, the whispers weren't just about Griner's attitude. They were about influence, about power, and about how deep it really went. The kind of stuff that makes leagues nervous. The kind of stuff that doesn't just break rules, it breaks trust. And the moment someone finally decided to dig deeper, everything started to unravel. At first, it looked like just another investigation. Standard procedure, nothing major. But then the leaks started. Texts, emails, audio recordings, documents nobody was supposed to see. And suddenly, this wasn't just a story about locker room drama, it was a scandal. Insiders say investigators uncovered messages between Griner and league officials, conversations that hinted at far more than just attitude issues. These weren't emotional outbursts or miscommunications. They were strategic. Talks about certain refs, comments about pressure points in specific matchups. And during critical games, moments started to look staged. Momentum shifts that didn't make sense. Blown calls that flipped entire quarters. And always, somehow, Griner's team came out ahead. Fans started noticing, players started asking questions. And behind the scenes, investigators kept pulling thread after thread until the whole picture started coming together. It wasn't just Griner acting out, it was interference. Subtle at first, then blatant. Calls influenced, games shaped, matchups that mattered. Officials were reportedly pressured, teammates silenced, opponents intimidated. And when the playoff races tightened and every possession counted, the manipulation got bold enough to trigger alarms from inside the league office itself. That's when Adam Silver stepped in, not just as a commissioner, but as a damage control machine. He brought in outside investigators, fired executives, suspended officials, and right in the middle of it all, Brittney Griner's name. Everywhere. In messages, in recordings, in complaints that were buried for years. This wasn't just a personality issue anymore. This was about the integrity of the game. And once Silver realized how far it had gone, there was no turning back. What started as rumors quickly turned into something bigger, something darker. Because this wasn't just about a player with too much attitude or a few questionable calls. This was about tampering with the very outcome of games. Multiple sources inside the league say Griner had more pull than anyone realized. Not just with teammates or coaches, but with refs, league officials, even game schedulers. She wasn't just playing the game, she was playing the system. Whispers turned into testimonies backed by evidence. And that evidence painted a picture of a player who wasn't just trying to win, she was allegedly manipulating how games unfolded, rigging matchups, swaying key calls, using her influence to tilt playoff races. Some insiders claim she'd casually drop info about ref assignments before they were public. Others said she had conversations before certain high-stakes games, conversations that somehow led to momentum always swinging her way when it mattered most. How deep did it go? Officials were caught in crosshairs. Some were quietly suspended. Others resigned before they could be questioned. Executives who had previously praised Griner suddenly vanished from league statements. It was like the league was trying to erase its own involvement, fast. Because this wasn't just bad press. This was existential. The integrity of the WNBA was now under fire. Every game she'd played, every win, every playoff run, all of it tainted. And the league knew it couldn't protect her any longer. Adam Silver wasn't just banning a player, he was making a statement. If you manipulate the outcome of the sport, you're done. But that led to a bigger, more uncomfortable question. How did it go this far without anyone stopping it? And the answer starts at the very top. For all the noise surrounding Brittney Griner, there was one voice that stayed quiet for far too long: Cathy Engelbert. As the commissioner of the WNBA, she was supposed to be the firewall, the one who kept things clean, fair, and in check. But according to insiders, Engelbert didn't just miss the warning signs. She ignored them. Emails, internal complaints, quiet alerts from staff and even players, they were there. And they all pointed to the same problem. Something wasn't right with how games were being run and who was influencing them. But Engelbert didn't act. Some say she was trying to protect the league's image, that a public scandal involving its biggest star would have torched years of progress. Others say she didn't want to go up against Griner, who by that point had become too powerful, too connected, too essential to the WNBA's bottom line. Either way, her silence became complicity, because the longer she waited, the worse it got. And by the time Adam Silver stepped in, it was already too late. The evidence was everywhere. The trust was shattered. The fans were turning. Now Engelbert herself is under internal review. Her role in the cover-up, or at the very least, in the delay, is being picked apart. And people are asking, was this negligence, or was this protection? The league had created a monster, propped her up, let her grow unchecked. And when it all came crashing down, it wasn't just Griner who took the fall, it was the system that allowed it. But here's the thing, this story might have stayed buried forever, if it weren't for a few players who finally said, enough. The league was on the edge. Executives were panicking, fans were confused, and just when it looked like things might be swept under the rug, the players spoke up. Not bench warmers, not fringe names. We're talking about Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, rising stars, future leaders of the WNBA, and they weren't whispering behind closed doors anymore. They went straight to league investigators. According to reports, these weren't vague complaints or gut feelings. These were detailed, documented testimonies. They described games that didn't feel right, refs making calls that broke rhythm, shifted momentum, critical moments where Griner's team got just a little too lucky, too often. But they didn't stop there, because what investigators showed in response stunned everyone in the room. Audio, real recordings. One clip allegedly captured Griner in a private conversation with a ref, talking about how to handle certain players and how the game needed to flow. Another clip had her discussing pressure points in upcoming matchups, not with her coach, but with someone in league ops. That's not just trash talk, that's strategy. Off the court, behind the scenes. Clark and Cunningham confirmed it. Other players backed them up, and suddenly, the league had no choice. They couldn't protect Griner anymore. They couldn't explain this away as miscommunication or heat-of-the-moment frustration. The game had been compromised, and the people brave enough to speak out, they forced the league's hand. Adam Silver didn't make that decision in a vacuum. He made it because the players gave him no way out. Now ask yourself, if Clark, Cunningham, and others had stayed silent, would any of this have come to light? Or would the league still be covering for its star? Because that, more than anything, might be the scariest part of all. But if you thought Brittney Griner was just going to disappear quietly, you don't know Brittney Griner. The second the ban went public, her camp launched into full-blown counterattack mode. Lawyers, PR teams, media insiders, they didn't just deny the allegations, they called the entire investigation a setup. Her legal team released a statement calling the punishment unjustified, excessive, and politically motivated. They claimed the league had it out for her, that she was being punished not for what she did, but for who she was. Their argument? Griner was too powerful, too outspoken, too unpredictable, and the league needed a scapegoat to distract from deeper problems: internal corruption, rigged leadership, and collapsing trust among players. And the most explosive part? They weren't just planning an appeal, they were threatening to sue. Her lawyers demanded full access to every document, every recording, every testimony used in the investigation. And they're hinting that if the league doesn't comply, they'll take it to court, publicly. Which means this isn't over. This is about to become a war of narratives. And both sides are loaded with ammunition. But here's where it gets even messier. Griner's team claims she was targeted because she challenged authority, because she refused to play nice with executives, because she had more locker room influence than most coaches. They're calling her a threat to the establishment, not a cheater. And while the league is scrambling to maintain control, Griner's camp is positioning her as a martyr, someone who's being erased because she got too close to secrets the WNBA didn't want exposed. They're not just defending her, they're accusing the league of a cover-up. And if this goes to court, if sealed records get unsealed, if names start dropping, we might find out that Brittney Griner wasn't the only one who knew how to rig a game. But even that's not the wildest twist in this story. Because just when you thought this couldn't go any deeper, it did. If the scandal wasn't already explosive, what came next sent it into absolute chaos. Because now, it wasn't just about game fixing or power struggles. Suddenly, a question that had been whispered for years, buried under rumors and deflected in interviews, was breaking out into the open. Is Brittney Griner biologically male? Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's controversial. But it's everywhere now. According to multiple insiders, documents have surfaced, medical records, internal memos, even off-the-record comments from league officials, all suggesting the WNBA may have known for years. If true, this changes everything. Because Griner wasn't just any player. She was the most dominant force in the league, the one who dunked, the one who bullied defenders in the paint, the one who did things no other female player could consistently do. Fans celebrated it, sponsors funded it, the league branded around it. But what if it wasn't a miracle of talent? What if it was a cover-up? Sources claim that early on, questions were raised, during physical evaluations, during eligibility reviews, but the league, desperate to build its brand, allegedly chose to ignore them. They had their superstar, their ticket seller, their icon. And if the truth got out, the whole narrative could collapse. Now, with Griner banned and the investigation files leaking, those old rumors have reignited. Louder, sharper, and backed by something the public never had before: evidence. Some insiders say the league hid behind privacy laws to keep things quiet. Others say Griner threatened legal action if any information surfaced. But now it's out, and the fallout is brutal. Sponsors are pulling back. TV networks are reevaluating deals. Fans are divided, some demanding full transparency, others furious at what they see as a smear campaign. And the WNBA? Caught between defending a legacy and surviving a scandal. Because this isn't just about identity, it's about fairness, about eligibility, about whether the league knowingly allowed an unfair advantage for years just to protect its golden goose. And if that's true, this isn't just a controversy, this is a reckoning. So here we are, the league's shaken, a legend is banned, and the truth? It still feels like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. What was supposed to be the golden era for the WNBA, packed arenas, rising stars, and growing global fans, has been replaced by corruption, cover-ups, and chaos. Sponsors are pulling back. Fans are confused. Future talent is questioning if this is the league they want to be part of. And the biggest question remains, was this ban about protecting the game's integrity? Or was it about hiding secrets that could have destroyed the league's image? Is Brittney Griner a scapegoat for a much bigger scandal? Or is this the fall of someone who finally got caught? One thing's clear, this story isn't over. Adam Silver's move was bold, maybe necessary, but it's just the opening chapter of a much larger battle. So what do you think? Was the lifetime ban justified? Is the league being honest with us? Or are we just seeing the surface of a much deeper, darker story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because when it comes to Brittney Griner and the WNBA, the next chapter could change everything.